Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Best Online Medical Lectures. We are discussing the physiology of the insulin part 7. Okay, so in the first 6 videos we have discussed about the source of insulin, the chemical structure of the insulin, the synthesis and secretion of insulin, then regulation of insulin, mechanism of action of insulin, and ultimately in the last 3 videos we are discussing about the functions of insulin. Okay, so last 2 videos we have discussed about the effect of insulin on the carbohydrate metabolism and fat metabolism. Okay, we will continue now the effect of insulin on the fat metabolism. So in the last video we have discussed that we have considered a hypothetical liver cell or a hepatocyte. How does the food what we eat generally, that is for example if we eat rice, that is the carbohydrates, so how this carbohydrate, that is excess of carbohydrates, gets stored into the fat tissue, converted into fat tissue and adipose tissue, we are going to discuss. So we have stopped in midway, we are going to continue the same lecture now. So I'll just revise what we have seen in the last video. So when the first group of the glucose molecules enter, it is after a fed state, that is when we take enough diet, so the glucose from the circulation enters into the liver cells with the help of these glucose transporters, and this glucose uptake is facilitated by the insulin by acting on its receptors on the surface of the cell membrane, and this insulin will stimulate so many enzymes, that is the in the cytosol, it is glycolysis, these 3 important enzymes, glucokinase, phosphofructokinase and pyruvate kinase. Ultimately pyruvate is formed, and this pyruvate enters into the mitochondria, and then it converts into acetyl CoA, and it leads to the Krebs cycle. Then here the energy is formed. Then when sufficient energy is formed, then the next group of glucose which is coming inside gets converted into glycogen, that is the storage form, that is cell requirement is achieved. Okay, so then it's converted to glycogen by the help of the enzyme glycogen synthase. Now again glycogen storage, that is the liver can store up to 5 to 6% of its weight, that is roughly around 100 gram it can store. Okay, so all our body it can store up to just around 500 grams, maximum up to 500 grams, that is half a kg. Then what will happen to the excess of glucose after the storage of glycogen is also achieved? So once the storage of the glycogen is achieved, then this excess of glucose which is coming, it's converted into fat or adipose tissue, and this adipose tissue can be stored in kgs. Okay, normal person who is eating much, you might have seen, who eats much, that is rice or carbohydrates or any diet, so ultimately after some time it's his or her weight increases. How? The main thing is the stored form is triglycerides, it's stored in the adipose tissue. How this glucose gets converted to triglycerides we have discussed here, and now how these triglycerides are stored in the adipose tissue we are going to discuss today. So when the third group of this glucose enters, so when this already achieved high energy is achieved, this citrate will come out to the cytoplasm. The citrate breaks into acetyl CoA and oxaloacetate. This acetyl CoA is the substrate for the de novo synthesis of the fatty acid. Acetyl CoA gets converted into malonyl CoA, then ultimately fatty acids, and ultimately the triglycerides are formed from the glycerol 3-phosphate and fatty acid. This glycerol 3-phosphate again it is formed by the intermediate of glycolysis dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and also free glycerol can also forms the glycerol 3-phosphate. So this glycerol 3-phosphate and fatty acids or fatty acid CoA form the triglyceride with the help of the enzyme acyltransferase. Okay, we have discussed in this thing in the last class. Those who have missed, please go through my previous video, in that we have discussed about this detailed pathways, how exactly the triglycerides or triacylglycerols are formed. Okay, so now this one triglycerides are formed. Now these triglycerides which are formed in the liver, that is after the de novo synthesis of fatty acids and all, they have to transfer into adipose tissue. Okay, so now I'll draw here a hypothetical cell. Consider this as an adipose tissue. Okay, consider this as a adipose tissue or a fat cell, adipose tissue. So how this triglycerides are ultimately transferred here and stored, we are going to discuss today. Now in between this again I will draw the blood vessel or the micro circulation in the adipose tissue, that is the circulation. Okay, so this one, so here the blood vessels or circulation. So this is a blood vessel, this is a liver cell, hepatocyte, this is a adipose tissue or adipose cell, this is a blood vessel. Okay, now we have discussed here how insulin will stimulate various enzymes and various pathway. Ultimately these triglycerides are formed, so I have designated this. Now this triglyceride directly they can't go into the circulation because they are water insoluble. Okay, so they can't go into the circulation and directly they can't enter to the adipose tissues. Okay, so now this triglycerides, so this triglyceride molecules are enveloped, these triglyceride molecules. So consider this with the help of this green marker I am drawing. This is a triglyceride molecule, that is the glycerol and 3 fatty acids. Okay, now this triglycerides molecule, water insoluble molecules, now they are covered by one membrane made up of phospholipid. They are covered by one membrane known as made up of phospholipid. So in this membrane few triglyceride molecules will be there along with even the cholesterol molecules. Okay, even these cholesterol molecules. Okay, so even cholesterol is synthesized in the liver. So this cholesterol molecule and triglyceride molecules are covered into a membrane, that is the phospholipid membrane, and over this phospholipid membrane there is one marker protein known as ApoB100. Okay, ApoB100, one marker protein. So this structure, that is, it is a lipoprotein. The lipoprotein, that is combination of protein and lipids. So that is inside triglycerides, cholesterol, and covered by the phospholipid membrane, and over this there is a marker protein known as ApoB100. Now this structure is known as a very important compound or a lipoprotein which is synthesized in the liver, is known as VLDL, that is very low density lipoprotein. Okay, now this VLDL will enter into the blood vessels. So this molecule VLDL, okay, so this VLDL, that is out membrane phospholipid membrane, and inside that there will be triglycerides molecules. So directly these triglycerides can't go because they are not water soluble, so it is transported in the form of a lipoprotein known as VLDL. Remember this VLDL. We are going to discuss about the other lipoprotein like HDL, LDL and chylomicrons also. Time being, remember this molecule. Okay, phospholipid inside a membrane, inside that triglycerides, and inside that cholesterol, and above that there is a marker protein on the surface, one protein that is known as ApoB100. Okay, now this can be a PG entrance question or NEET question. ApoB100. Okay, so now this molecule, it is known as VLDL. Now it will enter into the blood circulation. Okay, so not only from the liver, this VLDL molecules. Now in this VLDL, the triglyceride which are found, the carbon of this fatty acid, that is the long chain carbon unit, that is the carbons in these fatty acids are derived mainly from the glucose which is coming through the diet, but this glucose gets converted into fatty acids in the liver, okay, by the so many metabolic pathway. So this carbon, that is the source of this triglycerides, is de novo synthesis, that is de novo, it is synthesized in the liver itself. Okay, so fatty acids are also taken by the diet, that is from the GIT, that is from the GIT, gastrointestinal tract cells also. Fatty acids are also they are synthesized and they get converted, and so from the GIT also similar product. similar structure, that is it is covered by the phospholipid membrane, and inside that it will have triglycerides and cholesterol esters, that is this triglycerides and cholesterol molecules will be there. But the lipoprotein, this is a lipoprotein, okay, protein and lipid combination. The lipoprotein molecule which is coming from the gastrointestinal tract, it is having on the surface one protein that is known as ApoB48. Here the marker protein is ApoB100, okay. So this are known as, so this lipoprotein is known as chylomicron, which is coming from the GI tract, chylomicron, okay. So the chylomicron also enters into the blood vessel. So what's the difference between VLDL and this chylomicron? Both are lipoproteins. VLDL is derived from the liver, whereas chylomicron is derived from the GI tract, okay. So this chylomicron also has the same structure, that is it has a phospholipid membrane, and inside that it will be having the triglycerides. Triglycerides means fatty acid plus glycerol 3-phosphate, and that is esterification of this fatty acid with glycerol 3-phosphate by the acyl transferase enzyme, and cholesterol molecules. And most important, the difference is the marker molecule or the stamp on the surface of this molecule is ApoB48, here ApoB100. So this molecule, it is chylomicron. So the chylomicron enters into the circulation and the source is GI tract, whereas this lipoprotein VLDL, what is VLDL? A phospholipid layer, inside that this one triglyceride glycerol or triglyceride molecule and the cholesterol, and on the surface ApoB100, okay. Now this enter, that is this lipoproteins VLDL and chylomicrons have entered this circulation. Now this lipoproteins which contains this fatty acid or glycerol has to be taken up by the fat tissue for the storage, okay. Now we'll stop here, we'll just concentrate on this adipose tissue for time being, okay. So the adipose tissue, as you know, there are receptors on the surface of the adipose tissue also, that is the insulin receptors, okay. So insulin receptors, as you know, it has 2 alpha subunits, 2 beta subunits, okay. And when this insulin molecule binds on this insulin receptors on the adipose tissue, it's lead to the membrane changes and cytoplasmic changes, and most important one is there will be translocation of the GLUT4 receptors on the surface membrane, okay. So GLUT4, so that is insulin dependent GLUT4. So here GLUT2 in the liver cell, whereas in the skeletal muscle or cardiac muscle or in the adipose tissue, the transportation of the glucose into the adipose tissue is through the GLUT4 receptors. So the glucose will enter inside the cell, that is with the help of, and it is uptake is influenced by the insulin molecule. Now again the same story takes place, that is this glucose gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate, but here the enzyme is hexokinase, okay. Hexokinase, the enzyme in the liver is glucokinase, here it is hexokinase, and this glucose 6-phosphate is converted into same glycolytic pathway into the fructose 6-phosphate, then fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, then again that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, that is the same glycolytic pathway, okay. Now we are concentrating in this intermediate product of glycolysis, how it will help in the synthesis of fatty acids. So a small amount, unlike in the liver, how the large amount of the fatty acids are mainly synthesized in the liver, even adipose tissue will also synthesize some amount of the fatty acids, but the quantity is very little. It has to depend on the fatty acids from the circulation which are derived from the liver to or from the GI tract to store in the adipose tissue. So now come back here. So we have seen that insulin will act on the adipose tissue also, and there is lead to formation of the fatty acid. And one more thing, on the surface of this adipose tissue there are receptors for other hormones also. So if other hormones like glucagon, epinephrine and this one cortisol or steroids. So whenever they are stimulated, that is in the fasting state, when the insulin is not secreted, insulin is secreted when there is in the fed state, that is when the glucose level is high. So in the fasting state, this receptors through that hormones are activated, and what it will do is it will leads to the breakdown of triglycerides to fatty acid, that is the fatty acid concentration increases in the adipose tissue and ultimately it will go into the circulation. That is, in the fasting state, the main source of the fuel will be the fatty acid, and it is influenced by the hormones like glucagon or epinephrine and corticosteroid, that is the cortisol. Okay, so in the fed state, insulin will be active and it will lead to the storage of the fatty acids, whereas in the fasting state the fatty acids are broken from the triglycerides. Okay, now these triglycerides are broken down with the help of this enzyme by one very important enzyme known as lipase. There is one lipase present which will digest the triglyceride molecules, that is the stored fat. Stored fats is triglyceride. So triglyceride is basically combination of two molecules, fatty acid and glycerol 3-phosphate. Okay, so glycerol and fatty acid combination. So this lipase molecule will break these triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, so in the fasting state, that is the stored form, that is triglycerides are broken down into fatty acids and the glycerol, and it is with the help of very important enzyme known as lipase. And since this enzyme is under the influence of hormones like glucagon, epinephrine or steroid which will stimulate this, and insulin will inhibit this enzyme. That's why this enzyme which is under the influence of hormone, it is known as hormone sensitive lipase. Remember, one important enzyme which is present in the adipocytes, that is a lipolytic enzyme which will break the triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, so in the fed state, when the insulin act on the, so one of the action of the insulin, we are now discussing the effect of insulin on fat metabolism. So this insulin will inhibit this hormone sensitive lipase. Okay, hormone sensitive lipase, it will inhibit the hormone sensitive lipase because it want to store the fats in the form of triglyceride, will not want to break into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, in the absence of insulin, this hormone sensitive lipase are stimulated by the other hormones, and triglyceride is a store form, is broken down into fatty acids and the glycerol. Now insulin hormone, with the help of this insulin receptor, not only inhibit this hormone sensitive lipase, it will also act onto the nucleus of this adipocyte to generate from few protein synthesis or one enzyme, one more very important enzyme it will generate, and it will transfer that enzyme into the circulation or microcirculation of the adipocytes, and that enzyme is also a lipase, that is insulin will stimulate the production of one more enzyme from the nucleus of the adipocytes, and that is also a lipase which will act on the lipoproteins, of the circulation. That's why it is known as lipoprotein lipase. Okay, lipoprotein lipase. So insulin will stimulate the production of one enzyme known as lipoprotein lipase, and it will inhibit the activity of the hormone sensitive lipase. I want to bring this important point. Both enzymes, hormone sensitive lipase, lipoprotein lipase, both are the enzymes of the fat metabolism, and this but there are difference. So this hormone sensitive lipase is intracellular enzyme, and this lipoprotein lipase is an extracellular enzyme, that is it is acting on the extracellular component, that is it will go out of the cell. Extracellular enzyme, it is intracellular enzyme, and it will bind on the endothelial cells of the microcirculation of the adipocytes with the help of heparan sulfate. Now this is extracellular enzyme which will get transferred after synthesis into the adipocytes. So lipoprotein lipase is an extracellular enzyme, it is intracellular enzyme. Hormone sensitive lipase. So hormone sensitive lipase is inhibited by insulin molecule, whereas lipoprotein lipase activity is stimulated by insulin molecule. Okay, and this one hormone sensitive lipase will act under the influence of hormones, and this will act on these lipoproteins. Now how this lipoprotein lipase will act, now we are going to discuss. So till now we have discussed that in the circulation VLDL, which is derived from liver, and chylomicrons, which are derived from GI tract, entered into this circulation. Now which this VLDL and chylomicrons are actually immature molecules or nascent molecules. They can't they don't donate their triglycerides or fatty acids to the other tissues, so they have to become mature. So they will become mature under the influence of one more very important lipoprotein. Here it is known as HDL, high density lipoprotein. So this HDL or the high density lipoprotein, it will donate two important proteins, ApoC2 and ApoE, to both ApoC2 marker protein and ApoE to VLDL and chylomicron. That is, in the circulation, this HDL molecule will stamp this VLDL molecule with the two important proteins ApoC2 and also ApoE. So this HDL molecule also stamp this chylomicrons with the same ApoC2 as well as by ApoE molecule or E protein. Okay, now from the liver, the VLDL molecule, which was consisting of only the surface protein ApoB100, and chylomicrons, which are derived from the GI tract, has a ApoB48. Now in addition to that, it acquires two important marker proteins, ApoC2 and ApoE, capital E. So ApoC2 and ApoE are gathered, or this is provided by this very important lipoprotein HDL. So this HDL will provide these two surface proteins to this VLDL and chylomicron. So once HDL gives these proteins to VLDL and HDL, they becomes mature or activated. So once they are matured, so this lipoprotein lipase, which is synthesized by the nucleus of the adipose tissue cells and comes into the microcirculation, this lipoprotein lipase acts on this VLDL as well as this chylomicrons, and to act in this lipoprotein lipase will not act on the VLDL or chylomicron which are not primed by this ApoC2. For the action of this enzyme lipoprotein lipase, this VLDL or chylomicrons has to be primed, or their molecule on the surface there should be expression of ApoC2. So when this ApoC2 is provided by HDL, that is, if HDL is absent, if they don't provide this, then this lipoprotein lipase can't act on this VLDL and chylomicron. That's why HDL or the high density lipoprotein known as good cholesterol, this is very much helpful for the conversion of this HDL with the help of this lipoprotein lipase. So this lipoprotein lipase now recognizes this VLDL molecule by this ApoC2, and it will break this molecule, and it will break these triglycerides which are present inside into fatty acids and glycerols. So what are triglycerides? Fatty acids and glycerol 3-phosphate, that is glycerol only. Okay, so fatty acids and glycerol, and also it will break this chylomicrons into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, now these fatty acids from the microcirculation is taken into the adipocytes. So fatty acids, this where it is derived, the fatty acids from the VLDL, it comes from the conversion of glucose in the liver, and also through the dietary fatty acids in the form of chylomicron. Ultimately to the circulation, this fatty acids enters the adipocytes. Okay, now what happens to this VLDL molecule? So once this larger molecule, it is broken down, so some amount it will become smaller molecule. So this smaller molecule, after the action of lipoprotein lipase on this VLDL, now this smaller molecule that is outside, it is having the phospholipid layer and only a few quantity of triglycerides and a small esters, and on the surface there is expression of ApoB100 and also ApoE, and after the action of this lipoprotein lipase, this ApoC2 is transferred back by this VLDL molecule to the HDL molecule. Now this molecule, which has only ApoE, remember ApoE on the surface and ApoB100 on the surface, does not have ApoE. This molecule is called as intermediate density lipoproteins, or IDL. Okay, now these IDL molecules consisting of the ApoB100 and ApoE derived from the HDL, now this will enter into the hepatocytes. And this IDL or intermediate density lipoprotein is further acted by the hepatic enzymes, and it will get converted into one more structure or one more lipoprotein. It is known as LDL, or low density lipoproteins. Okay, even these remnants of the chylomicrons, after its action, again it will give back this ApoC2 molecule to HDL, and B48 and ApoE molecule remnant with this one enters into the circulation by a process into this liver cell by the process of endocytosis. Okay, so this is the fate of the lipoproteins, and finally fatty acids enter here. Now, as we have seen that did the action of insulin on the adipocytes, this intermediate of glycolysis will produce this glycerol 3-phosphate. So this glycerol 3-phosphate is with the help of the enzyme glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. So this glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase converts dihydroxyacetone phosphate to glycerol 3-phosphate. So this glycerol 3-phosphate gets esterified with the fatty acid with the help of enzyme acyltransferase to form the triglycerides. Okay, to form the triglyceride, which is the storage form. It is stored in the liver, in the adipocytes. So the source of the fatty acids is through the de novo synthesis in the liver and through the GI tract. So these fatty acids enter, though some amount of the fatty acid is synthesized in the liver, but in the adipose tissue, but it is very minute quantity, but mainly from the de novo synthesis in the liver, and that fatty acids combine with the glycerol 3-phosphate to form the triglycerides. Okay, now even this glycerol which is formed here after the breakdown, this can enter here, but this plain glycerol from the circulation can't get converted into glycerol 3-phosphate because adipocyte don't have a very important enzyme, glycerol kinase. Remember, glycerol kinase is present only in the liver and the kidney. Adipocytes can't convert the plain glycerol into glycerol 3-phosphate, and if this is not converted into glycerol 3-phosphate, then triglycerides can't be found. So the ultimate storage form is triglycerides, which is stored in the adipose tissue. If then when the more amount of the glucose enters, the more amount of this so many cycle takes place, and ultimately triglycerides are stored, and the fatty tissues will expand whatever amount it can increase to your weight, and ultimately fat deposition in the adipose tissue size will get increased and fat gets accumulated. Okay, so the action of insulin on the fat metabolism is it will stimulate the various enzymes of the glycolytic pathway and this de novo synthesis of fatty acid synthesis, and this it will on the adipose tissue it will stimulate the lipoprotein lipase and inhibit the hormone sensitive lipase. Remember these two important enzymes, it will inhibit the hormone sensitive lipase action and it will stimulate the lipoprotein lipase activity in the microcirculation of the adipocytes, and ultimately triglycerides are stored in the adipose tissue. That is, insulin is an anabolic hormone, it will store or leads to the formation of fat tissue. Okay, so similarly we have discussed now the action of insulin on the carbohydrate metabolism, in detail about the fat metabolism, also on protein metabolism. Insulin is an anabolic, it leads to the synthesis of the proteins and inhibition of the proteolysis, and also insulin will act on certain ion channels like